Welcome back. No Cap Sports, back to y'all with yet another episode. I'm back in the States. Vance, TJ, and Josh, gonna tell these folks what we bringing to them today since you came on flexing with the very, very exclusive headwear, bro. No Lee Corso.
Man, I guess I say RIP, but he been dead. Shout out to homie. But we got a football season started, bro. We got a full-fledged college football episode coming at you folks. Like you said, Nick is finally done flexing on them folks over in Europe. Mr. 1K, the big one, not the little one. Shout out to homie. Yeah, since he's been gone, a lot of stuff since he's been back, a lot of stuff has happened in the college football landscape. We got some upsets, we got some teams in here that we got some folks, we got some happy fan bases. Shout out TJ's LSU Tigers, my Baylor Bears. We got some not so satisfied legacy programs. And yes, we're looking at you, Alabama. Most importantly, we got some new faces and some new places. So we'll get into all of that. But most importantly, just assessing the college football landscape, 2 weeks in. Football is back, y'all. Thank God.
No cap, no cap. And the season got started off with a banger. Texas, Ohio State. Now, how the hell Ohio State was ranked number three after winning the national championship, I have no clue. But this is a game that saw two new starters for both of these programs. And Vance, being a Texas fan, how did you feel about the debut of Arch Manning?
Oh man, it was not very promising. A lot of it looked like nerves, honestly. It looked like nerves, and I wanted to give him a second chance in the San Jose State game. But just watching the first game, you're going against Ohio State, a top five defense in the nation. They got Kale Downs, one of the best, if not the best player flat out in college football, patrolling the defensive backfield for Ohio State, but a lot of it's just missed throws. And it truly looked like he did not work out with his receivers at all this summer. And so that was very concerning, and his mechanics looked very poor. So like everybody knows, he played Louisiana football. Louisiana football is good football, but he played 2A prep school, private school football, bro.
Hey,
And
chill,
that's
that's TJ High School, bro.
yeah, man.
Easy.
So TJ Bush, we gonna blame you on Arch Manning being ass in college football. Either way it goes, bro. From what I saw, it just looks like everything he did looked lazy to me in terms of his mechanics, throwing the ball. It's a quick out, it's a crossing route. Why are you not completing these timing throws where you had all summer? You've had 2 years to work out with these guys just in practice. But like before we started recording, TJ mentioned it, man. Like sometimes it just looks like you didn't even practice. So it is what it is. He still has time, until a real game pops up. Florida, October 4th. That's coming up a few weeks away. He has time to get out the kinks, get out the wrinkles. But for right now, I'm not liking what I saw from Arch Manning in week one against Ohio State.
TJ, stand up for your boy, man.
I'm for the most part, I agree with what Van said. Like you saw it from the first throw, it had like a deep out route, maybe like a sail. I couldn't see what the route concept was, but whoever that was wide open. They might have messed around and scored on that play. He had at least 20 yards of space. You set up your first year starter quarterback with a quote unquote layup, but it just was a simple throw that you can critique any quarterback you want. They can make that throw in their sleeve. So I think I really agree with what you said about the nerves part. Like that's a simple throw. That's a first day of camp, 7-on-7, you make that throw in your sleep, and he just couldn't execute the simple plays. And then it didn't help with rhythm when they're like, all right, we want to run the ball because that's part of Texas' identity. So it's not like it's a bad thing, but you got a run heavy team. Not to mention that throwing an NFL defense at him. I thought that was you can play who's on the schedule, but there's no other team. Well, there's not that many teams this year that's going to roll out an NFL defensive coordinator, failed or not. But he's still throwing things at him that first road start, best team in the country. Again, I don't know how they weren't ranked number one, but it's neither here nor there. I think Josh said it in the chat. It would have been a hell of an accomplishment to win your first start on the road against a defending national champions, but he did not do himself any favors in 3/4 of that game. So,
Yeah, I think for the biggest thing for me, like I said, you was gonna be hard pressed. We saw it with Bryce Underwood in Oklahoma. We saw it with, these guys. I won't say essentially he's a freshman because, like you said, he's had the experience to look better than what he did. But he's a rookie, essentially, a rookie out in college football. And you didn't expect the flawless game, but you wanted to see flashes, and the flashes were minimal. You honestly have more poor flashes than good flashes. Like you said, the mechanics, the weird sidearm stuff. You had some positive flashes. I think I would like to see him in a big game because, like Van said, they got some cupcakes until they play Florida. But I would like to see the training wheels pulled off a little bit. And some of these restriction terms of downfield shots and really letting them rip. You got a big arm, big talented guy. Let him utilize that. That's how I viewed Bryce Underwood and Ray Lord as well. Like you got this big, strong, athletic guy. Use him as a runner. Use his arm strength. Move the pocket for him. So I think that Sark hindered him a little bit by not utilizing his strengths. But I can understand it because his job is to win games, not to maximize Arch Manning's potential. Although those probably go hand in hand. But I think that it's twofold. I think he could have been better, but maybe if Arch had showed some signs maybe early in the game that he was capable of handling that, he probably would have been more inclined to do that. Because for my money, the best part, I mean, he got it back within one score in the fourth quarter. That's the best he looked when he hit I think it was a cover 2 hole that he hit on the sideline for the first big completion, and then the touchdown that he threw. That was the best he looked. But I just think that he's got to be better with mechanics, his consistency, his feet. I'm not a quarterback guru, but just even looking at the TV tape, that stuff looked out of whack. And I think that there's got to be more trust between him and Sark to be like, again, utilize him as a runner, move the pocket for him. You're not gonna get anything with just dinking and dumping with all those Ferraris in the garage that you got.
I mean, even just watching that game, it felt like he didn't know what his progressions were. So a lot of times he was just trusting his arm way too much. There'll be a guy wide open down the seam. He's throwing a contested pass in between. Like you said, the play that you're speaking of, it was a contested catch. And so there was a guy wide open that could have been 6 on that same play. So it just felt like he's not seeing his progressions. And so it's just there's something off, and he just trusts his arms, his athletic ability too much. And that's not going to work as the talent keeps getting better and better.
We had these quarterback gurus, again, like whether it's in the college game with like a Sark or I can't think of them, but like a Sean McVay in the NFL, a Cliff Kingsbury in the NFL, going from college to the NFL. I think a big part of what we see makes them in that way is like some of these air raid systems where you get 5 out and you empty backfields, you let guys take downfield shots. And, I can see early in the game if you was, maybe we know how it is, like getting some layups, doing some crossing there, some easy stuff, and kind of letting them progress into some more complicated reads. But it really felt like for me that they kind of really had the handcuffs on them until the game was almost out of hand when they had to throw the ball down the field. So again, I don't know if it was because of the lack of trust that Sark had in Arch or an ability to do it. Probably a combination of both, but you're not going to get far handcuffing that guy. And you got to remember what his last name is. If they're going to continue to handcuff him, he will go to a program that won't. He will be the best quarterback Tulane has ever had if they continue to treat him like that. So I think just for college football's sake, to see what the kids really got all this hype, we gotta because I mean, no offense, San Jose State, I don't care what he does against Shaw. I want to see him against some big time competition, really make some do or die throws.
We saw Arch come on and struggle for Texas, a program that has some high expectations not only for Arch but for themselves as a program. But on the flip side, another program that severely disappointed last year, didn't win a game, comes into this year with a new quarterback and knocks off one of the blue bloods of college football. Talking about Tommy Castellanos and Florida State's performance week 1, defeating Alabama. What did that win say to y'all? One, about Florida State and the ACC race, and then also the current state of Alabama football, man.
Listen, man, we're talking Florida State, so you already know I got to get this out. DJU is ass. I just had to get it out. We got to start off with that,
Bro, he a
man.
clipboard holder, bro. He in the league, bro.
Is he holding the clip? I thought he got cut.
I mean, I saw him Friday night whenever the Chargers
He
played.
had
He was on the
earpiece in.
sideline.
Yeah, he wasn't dressed up. He had earpiece in.
Yeah, he's gonna be a great coach for somebody. Maybe Millsaps College. Either way it goes, he is ass, man. Just the upgrade that you get from DJU to Tommy Castellanos, like it's literally night and day. Like me and Josh, we had a discourse about Castellanos at Boston College. Like he had a turnover problem, but I just feel like that was just him trying to overcompensate for his team not being as good as the talent that they were competing against. And so now he's going to Florida State where they have the weapons that can complement his skill set. And then they looked good everywhere last season. Defense was good. It's just they literally could not put points on the board. And so now you basically get continuity with the entire team. You just put somebody that actually knows how to play quarterback in the game, and look what happens for Florida State. So I think they are back, in my opinion.
Watching my boy TC at Boston College when I was covering Syracuse, like 2023, I told you he had a turnover problem. 2023, 15 to 14 touchdown interception ratio. So my eyes were not lying. And even like he had a big jump. He won 18 touchdowns, 5 picks in 24. But that was just more like you said, Boston College's talent did improve significantly between his sophomore year and junior year. And he looked like Arch Manning out there. They was like, you're not going to throw the ball downfield, but we see how you turn it over. So that was a little bit of artificial deflation of interception numbers. But you hit it right on the head, Vance. I think that the running talent was always there. I can't think of the last time Florida State had a true dual threat. Jameis Winston could run, but he was nowhere near the athlete that
Jordan Travis fucked up.
That's what I was going to say, man.
Oh,
His
yeah.
quarterback, bro.
Yeah. But even that, I mean, yeah. But Tommy Castellanos is a much better athlete than Jordan Travis. I
Yeah,
can't
for
lie.
sure.
Castellanos had 1,100 rushing yards in ACC. So I just think that I was concerned that the turnovers would kind of rear their head, and he was much more accurate in that first game in Alabama than I ever saw him at BC. He came into the Dome in Syracuse and beat them. I think he barely completed half his passes. He looked like how he looked. He did a lot of playmaking, but I think he started that game like 9 for 9. I was like, oh, you are looking brand new. So I don't want to hate on the kid. I don't know how sustainable that is going to be. If he's going to be a guy that's going to complete 70% of his passes, because then you're talking about a guy that could potentially be a draftable quarterback. But like Van said, combining the upgrade that you get from what DJU was to what Castellanos is, combined with that defense, combined with Tony White and bringing in a new scheme with the 3-3-5, and then just it seems like there's kind of general belief in Mike Norvell at the very pitiful season. That's powerful. Florida State looks like they're back.
Yeah, and I think talking about Castellanos, we talked about the accuracy. I mean, he still only threw the ball 14 times in that game versus Alabama. Went 9 for 14. Hats off to him, though. But I will say, I think the pairing of Castellanos and Gus Malzahn as the offensive coordinator at Florida State is perfect. You look at what Malzahn's history, his track record of not the best passers at Auburn, guys like Nick Marshall, other names of irrelevant guys that, just won games on the backs of the Auburn rush game and a strong defense. And that's what Florida State showed to me. And in showing that, I also want to mention that talking about Alabama, this was yet another game where Ryan Williams did not achieve 100 yards receiving. And I think it's time to start having that conversation about maybe, this Alabama program has kind of taken a step back since Nick Saban has left, man.
I think it's undeniable, and I'll let TJ jump in here too. I want to hear your thoughts as somebody that Saban left for your program to go to Alabama and kind of usurp Florida. But yeah, man, I think we all saw the tweet where one of the boosters said the kids, grown ass me, the guys ordering DoorDash and staying up in the hotel till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. You can still do that in ball. I can't lie, but they just look so much softer. They look like they've regressed, and just the general intensity. Like, and no slight to the West Coast. My brother graduated from USC, but in the SEC, it's going to be very, very, very hard to win with an offensive forward coach. You need to have somebody that understands you need to have a strong offensive line, and you need to be able to run the ball, and to have a really good defense. And Kellen DeBoer comes from a program in Washington where, like, yeah, we're going to have the best quarterback. We're going to throw the ball all over the yard, and that's how we're going to win games. And that's not how you really do it in SEC. That's just not how you do it.
Yeah, man. They messing with the recipe. You can't be doing that, man. Like, literally, it's been an identity for almost 20 years of run the ball. We got the best running back. We got a quarterback that's going to make the throws. All you got to do is complete it to these top tier 5-star wide receivers. You got Maseratis all over the field, bro, but you don't have the key to it. And just like you know how to make gumbo, why are you trying to add something to it in terms of they should have kept it within the system, kept an assistant coach that knows what Saban likes, knows what Saban wants to do. You can't just change the identity of something that's been working like this for 20 years. That's just not how it works.
I was kind of along the lines of what Vance said. The Bama that we're used to, all world front seven, big bruising back, and you got a quarterback that takes care of the ball. It's crazy to say that, like, if you watch Alabama in the last 7-8 years, you've kind of become spoiled by the quarterback play. But when we were coming up, it was Blake Sims, AJ
Oh
McCarron,
God.
Jacob. They did not always have. I'm pulling the names out. They did
Okay,
not always.
Jacob Coker. Ooh,
Look,
golly.
bro. They was rolling out Blake Barnett one year, but they had some funky quarterbacks. We are not like if you have watched the Tuas and the Hurts and the like, and they've lit it up and they've become Heisman contenders. That is not the reality. They used to have always had all world front seven. You got crazy D linemen, linebackers. You got defensive backs that want to hit. You got a big bruising back, Scarborough, Derrick Henry, Yeldon, Najee Harris. You name it. They've had it all, and then you always had a quarterback that can take care of the ball. I can make the argument that they don't have any of that, and you have a coach that wants to throw the ball over the yard. He hasn't really had a half decent quarterback since he's been there. We know how I feel about Jalen Miller. I won't, get into that. I've been accused of being a little bit on the quarterbacks, but this is a Bama with more than a chink in its armor. The armor has a big ass hole in it. They just looked out of sorts. Week 1 trap game, I'll buy it. It's in Florida State. They have nothing to lose. They're coming off an awful year. They have nowhere to go but up. They were always going to be a scrappy bunch, but Simpson looked out of sorts. The running game was bad. They couldn't cope with the elements. Man, that coach, like, even if Nick Saban was just a good coach, I think that DeBoer hasn't even, like, halfway measured up. Like, he just looks out of sorts. We knew he wasn't going to be able to, Bama fans are crazy, man. We knew he wasn't going to be able to live up to what they wanted off that. But, like, are we so sure that they're not a bad football team? Because even last year, they were bullshitting in some of them games. If
No
Jalen
cap.
Miller wasn't the best athlete on the field, they don't beat LSU. They got smacked by Oklahoma. They lost to Michigan. They bullshitted with USF again for the second year in a row.
Thought Simpson started that game too.
Like, come on, bro. They literally kicked Jalen Miller to the curb. Like, all right, we need another quarterback. And then that's the guy that you have to go back to the next year. It just Bama's a mess. I think they won't shake back until they get an SEC adjacent head coach. I'm not crazy about throwing head coaches in the trash, but this shit is already too. He done already burnt this shit up. He's got to go, and not because he's done an awful job. He's not the right fit for this job.
I was about to say, just looking at the box score from this game, bro, when's the last time that Alabama put the ball in the air passing 43 times compared to 29 rushing attempts, bro? That's just not Alabama football. But what were you finna say, Josh?
No, I was just saying, like, you talk about Gus Malzahn and all the stuff he did with Florida State with Tommy C. Gus Malzahn won a national championship at Auburn, a decidedly mid-tier program, and was gone, 3 years later? Because he couldn't get with the program like, hey, defense in the run game matters in the SEC. They got him out of there because he failed to realize that. And he got a national championship. Oh, he had the greatest college football player of my generation. I digress. But and Caleb DeBoer has a national championship appearance in a very weird year. I'll say that. One has got to give. He has to get Cam Newton, or he has to change his mindset. And I don't see Keelan Russell's not that physically imposing, but maybe even that goes to the decision to start Simpson over a guy in Keelan Russell because they don't have the infrastructure this year. But maybe they could go with a guy that has more mobility, a guy that isn't so reliant on making tight window throws and will be more apt to dig and duck and trust the run game to make plays with his legs. But DeBoer is not like that. He wants his quarterback to be the shiny toy in the offense, and that's not how it goes in the SEC. It just means more.
Just looking at the schedule for Alabama, and it's very possible if they do not make any changes, they can miss a bowl game. They got Wisconsin next. We'll just give them the win. Next week,
they'll win that.
Next week, Georgia. I think
Mm.
that's an L.
That's the L.
Vandy rematch. That's not a give me for Alabama anymore, bro. Vandy is a
Ariel
very good
Pavia
team.
said they
I'll
got
give them
national championship
they need
expectations at Vandy, bro.
Yes. Then after that is ranked team after ranked team
I'll give
after
them that
ranked
one
team
because they
after
need
ranked
it.
team. It goes Missouri, then Tennessee, South Carolina, LSU, Oklahoma. Then they have a gimme against Eastern Illinois. Then you got to play Auburn, who that's a rivalry game. It could go either way. So 6 wins is not
And
guaranteed
they got a
right
running
now.
quarterback now. So
It's not guaranteed. Listen, I think they'll make a bowl game, but I don't see them making a BCS bowl game like one of those higher tiers. They might be in the Tax Slayer Bowl this year. It is what it is.
weren't they in the Texas Bowl last year?
But literally,
Yeah, the
And they
Gator
go,
Bowl. It sure was.
okay.
Yeah, some Reliant Quest shit. Like, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, they a big name school with a bad record, bro. That you know how it goes, man.
Damn, Vance, you just named 5 ranked schools in a row. Missouri, Tennessee, South Carolina, LSU, Oklahoma, all top 20. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's
the only team that they've looked better than on that list is Vandy. South Carolina got a big time win in the dome. You know
yeah.
what LSU did. Missouri got a
Missouri.
big time rivalry win. Oklahoma just got a ranked win.
Yeah.
Yep.
So as of right now, the only team that at this very moment, we're gonna speak a sponsor to until we get sponsored by until we get sponsored by one of these sports where we free agents. But if you went on DraftKings right now, I bet out of those 5 games, Alabama is probably underdogs in 4 because they're 24th in the AP poll right now. So it's not only not far fetched. They probably at this very moment, the most likely scenario is 1-4, maybe a 2-3. They get a game and they're supposed to win. But yeah, I hear 3 losses at the minimum.
Then we all know what if Alabama ever had a weakness, even during the Saban era, it's gonna be a mobile quarterback, man. And so
Oh,
we're
God.
talking. Georgia has a mobile quarterback. South Carolina has a mobile quarterback. Oklahoma has a mobile quarterback.
You can
Auburn
argue
has a mobile quarterback.
Tennessee does too.
That's 5 schools right there, bro. So if that's your weakness and you got to go against all of this is a gauntlet, bro. This is no joke. They have to go at least 3-6 in these ranked games to probably make a bowl game. They can do it, but it's not a gimme.
It's crazy. We talking about an SEC superpower, and now the discussion is they might get into the Gator Bowl. Like that speaks volumes in this whole discussion. Like this is a team that like they usually just show up and win 11 games, and their fan base would be pissed if they lost 1 game. They'll be talking about, oh, we garbage. They ready to burn it down. They go 11-2. They ready to burn it down, and now they got it. Yeah, that's. I think that is the best thing that we can say out of all the things that we've said. This is where they're at now. This is your reality. You saw, okay, insert the clip of the woman. They asked the woman outside the gas station, what would she do if she won the Powerball? She said, I tell you what I do with the first 70 million. And the first thing she thought to do was they're going to buy out Kalen DeBoer. This is the biggest lottery jackpot in the history of the world. And the first thing she thinks of is to fire the Alabama head coach. That is how bad they love football down there. That's how bad it is.
Yeah, but I think the fall of Alabama is also the signaling of a rising of a new tide, especially when we look at these new crop of quarterbacks that are starting to dominate the SEC. We already alluded to Lenore Sellers at South Carolina, Nussmeier down at LSU, Mateer at Oklahoma. We're seeing a lot of guys starting to elevate their play and take some of these obviously in the shadows of the Georgias and Alabamas type programs, but bring them to the spotlight. So out of these other teams in the SEC, who has impressed y'all the most so far this season?
It's so crazy because I feel like the SEC at this point, between them and Big 12, is like half of the relevant teams in the country. So we gotta kind of recount. Man, I know the Clemson win doesn't look that good now, but for my money, college we just kind of ran through what it takes in the SEC. That LSU defense looks really good. Look like got a lockdown corner in Delaney. They're stopping the run a lot better. We'll see when they get into conference play. But they got the highest in the quarterback, I think, in the SEC. I wouldn't say that. They probably got the best quarterback in the SEC right now in Garrett Nussmeier. So if you combine his upside in terms of him being going out to win you a game with a revamped LSU defense, and then again the talent that you're gonna need to have to go game for game in that conference, you know, like I said, the Clemson if Clemson ends up looking as bad as we think they did against Troy, then I'll reevaluate. But to go into there and have again your quarterback look that good, and then your defense look that good, which has been the main problem. I think I would be most impressed with LSU.
All right, well, I'm not gonna pick LSU. That's boring because I'm an LSU fan. I want to go Oklahoma just
Yes, sir.
because I think that last year I was very impressed with that defense. Like, I don't know if y'all remember that Tennessee game, that first drive, the way they was popping them pads,
No cap.
they was tagging shit. They hit Nico on the sideline. One time he tried to run out of bounds and just you have a defensive minded head coach, a clear upgrade at quarterback. You have, our Mason Thomas is one of the best defensive players in the conference country. I like John Mateer a lot. He's got the swag. He reminds me a little bit of Baker. He can throw it all over the yard. He can run it. They rally behind him. I would like to see them get the running game going. You paid a lot for Jaden Knott, and he's kind of been like a shiny toy that hasn't really done much yet. So there's things to be, tapped into. But I love the way that they fly to the ball. I love the way that they, took advantage of their advantage, home field advantage. You got a more experienced quarterback who puts up video game numbers. You got a coach. Venables has coached defenses that have beat Alabama teams. He's got national
No
championship runs.
cap,
But I know
bro.
he wasn't a head coach. But what would you say?
I was just saying, bro. Like I'm high on Oklahoma too. Like they were one of
Yeah.
my favorite teams coming into the year, and knowing Brett Venables and knowing the history of this Oklahoma program, as we've always talked about, I knew he would bring his defensive imprint to this team and to this culture. And like you said, it started last year, and this year it's taking full fruition. I just looked at that. You just look at the game last week against Michigan. We're talking about five-star Bryce Underwood. Understand he's a freshman, but 9 for 24 passing. He was seeing things he's never seen before, and just the way Venables creates on that defense creates pressure, and then also has coverage guys on the back end. It's going to be hard for any quarterback going up against this Oklahoma defense.
And I like the way that it's simple, it's not elegant, analysis, but I like the way that they compete. Like a lot of teams don't, if they feel like they have the advantage on paper, they'll get caught up in the trap game. They'll get, hit over the head one night. It's SEC, any given Saturday. But I think that they don't play like that. I think the score might not look like it, but that game was a blowout. They dominated from start to finish. It was never really close aside from, an 8-point, 9-point game. Really, it should have been like a 21-point victory, but they had a couple muff punts. Mateer threw a bad interception. They dropped the punt. They got stuffed in the red zone one of the time. So, like, it could have been worse than it was. Kind of along the lines of Arch, I feel like Underwood was getting babied too much. Probably was the best athlete on that field, but the coach didn't treat him like that. I know Michigan was a little banged up, but I just like the way that they compete. The schedule is not too crazy, if I'm not mistaken, and I think they might be all right. They've impressed me the most so far outside of LSU. That's a square peg.
Yeah,
No,
and
no,
then
no.
one, just one last point on Oklahoma too. Just the continuity between Mateer and Arbuckle. You go back and you look at what Mateer accomplished at Washington State. Over 4,000 yards passing, was prolific. I just think that translates easily to Oklahoma. And like we said with the defense, this is a team to watch out for in the SEC. And honestly, is one of my favorites to win the SEC.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I didn't know
man.
that kid was that big. Pause. I can't lie. Like he was like I knew he could run a little bit just stand watching, but I'm like, dog, that kid is a like you say Baker. Like I see the Baker like with the white boy swag and all that. He probably
Right.
can dance cool. But physically he's in another class. He probably looks a little bit more like Lenore Sellers than Baker. Like that kid is like, yeah, I didn't know Washington State made him like that to be honest.
He
So
can shift. You saw how he was stopping on the dime.
no, that's what I'm
Look,
saying.
he don't
He's
he
big
don't
and
want to go
shift.
out of bounds. Like if they
Yeah,
teach you to go out of
exactly.
bounds, he was like, "Nah, I'm coming back in the field." But they teach you don't run back, and he was like, "Nah, screw that. Who wants some? I'm coming back inbound."
Yeah, Wazoo might be the new QBU, man, or the back-to-back QBs coming
Here
out that
we
program.
go. Here we go.
No, but I actually, Josh, I'm surprised that one
All
school
right.
that you didn't pick, I'm gonna go ahead and give them a shout out, and that's Auburn. Just for listen, people are saying sorry Robinson for Heisman. We've all heard it. I don't know why we've heard that, but hey, we've heard it. And they handled Baylor. They handled Baylor, and in
Yeah.
past years, Auburn's it's been kind of different in terms of you're not really expecting them. You expect them to be middle of the pack, and I think this could be a year for them. But I'm not. That's not the team I'm going with. I'm gonna go with a team that already has a loss, and it's the Texas Longhorns. It's literally the only weakness on the team is Arch Manning,
Damn.
and he still has a few weeks to get it together for the Texas Longhorns before the gauntlet starts. with Florida, which should still be a win. We saw how Florida looked. He just has to be okay. He just has to be okay. Now, when they play the week after that, Red River rivalry, that's going to be a really good one, man. It should be college game day. And I think coming down Texas, Oklahoma, that game, that's going to be a war. And can Arch find the plays to make against that Oklahoma defense, which I don't think we gave them enough love, even though we just spent 5 minutes on them. Their defense is pretty good, pretty solid. But Texas has a solid defense as well. And we saw how they battled against Ohio State. And I just feel as if the team, if Arch can get it together, bro, the team is unstoppable, the best in the nation. I think they have that type of ceiling. But I also think there are a couple of teams in the SEC, every year it is, that has that type of ceiling. But I think Texas has the highest ceiling in the SEC.
Yeah, and so I think it's really interesting. Obviously, me and TJ went with Oklahoma. Josh, you went with LSU. How do we feel about South Carolina and Lenore Sellers?
That was gonna be the team I wanted to pick, honestly, but Lenore still I think is gonna be a much better NFL quarterback than Gary Nussmeier, but college, I think right now, in terms of arm talent, he's got it. We know how you think about black quarterbacks, TJ. Fix your face. You good. I think that yeah, it didn't look great against South Carolina State, but HBCU football comes to play, baby. It was a rain delay, so that kind of always throws off the stuff, throws off the rhythm of the game. Started with Clemson and Troy as well. And I think that the formula that we just talked about that Alabama struggles with, you talk about ceiling. You got a guy that probably has the highest ceiling in the SEC with Lenore Sellers. You got a defense with Beamer that showed out against Virginia Tech and really rattled Aaron Jones. You got the fastest guy in the SEC in Nick Harbor that he looks like a receiver now, actually. Like, if that guy can really learn to play receiver, like track the ball, run routes, that guy's unstoppable. He ran past that Virginia Tech corner in that first game like he was a cone. So, like, that's a guy. We talk about Bernard, and me and Vance were watching the Alabama game. We talk about Bernard and Ty Simpson. If Seller can improve as a passer, Nick Harbor might be a Biletnikoff winner. And that might be literally an unstoppable duo. And then we know when your last name Beamer, they're going to win the special teams battle. I think that's an underrated part of the game. It got him 14 points last week. The kid Swain has 3 punt return touchdowns, I think, in 2 games.
What?
So he had 2 against South Carolina State. So I think that when you have in the SEC, when the talent becomes a bit more equal, something like special teams, Nick Harbor is making tackles as a gunner, which is crazy. So I think that the upside on them, that would be the one team I picked that was gonna be my second pick. But I didn't want to get any lashings from TJ on the black quarterback thing. So I don't know. And I say that, and then another team that's out here in my neighborhood, A&M has a chance to really make a statement against Notre Dame. Marshall Reed. Here's the one thing, because I feel why you're making that face, man. I feel you, but you got to throw it out there. The money that's in College Station, they're gonna have talent. They got a mobile quarterback. They got an experienced defense, not super. You don't got a lot of high level guys, but you got a lot of juniors and seniors. And you got, again, we talk about Venables in Oklahoma. Oklahoma. Mike Elko, he's a program setter. And he definitely his program.
Saw that at Duke, bro.
You're right. A black man's supporting Duke in 2025, bro. That's crazy.
Got that ass whooped by Illinois last weekend, bro. Chill.
I think that his how we kind of seen it with Venables, he kind of finally got the ethos of his culture embedded into College Station. And again, kind of the same formula with South Carolina. If you have a really good defense and a high ceiling quarterback that can be mobile, and a Marshall Reed, I think that they got a high ceiling in the SEC. I think they'll probably knock off Notre Dame.
I think, honestly, talking about A&M, getting Conception out the portal was big for them because you get a real number 1 from Marcel Reed. I wasn't very high on him last year, but just looking at him and Conception's connection early this year, I can see some of the hype, but I'm not sure if I'm pushing the narrative of them as the best team in the SEC, though.
They do have the chance to make a statement. I think the offense is the real deal, like you guys have literally just stated. But you can't give 22 points to Utah State and 24 points to UTSA. There's gonna be games where they do get stopped, and they're not getting these stops against these teams, these lower tier teams. And when they start playing this SEC schedule, they're going to have a couple of losses in there.
Mm. I'm not mad at you. I think that we went around the room, and you can say the same thing about Georgia, and they have a significantly lower ceiling quarterback. I think in Gunnar Stockton. They got a guy that's an explosive playmaker in Zach Branch. I don't know how good of a receiver he is, but I think that Texas A&M line is significantly better than Georgia, and Georgia is what in the AP 3 above LSU. And what have they done? What have they done to deserve that ranking besides have the logo on the helmet? So, man, I feel you, but I think that applies to other. You can say that same thing about other teams in the conference that are ranked significantly higher. So I won't use that as a pause per se to say that like to denote.
So talking about Georgia, let's flip over to the ACC. Advance, y'all got Georgia's trash and Carson Beck. And in week one, he looks like y'all's treasure in the big win versus Notre Dame. How you feel about Miami's chances this year, man?
Listen, man, a lot of the games is tell as old as time. You win the game in the trenches, and Miami might have the best trenches in college football. The front seven looks amazing. The O line looks amazing. Run game looks as good as it's ever has been. Carson Beck, you don't have to depend on Beck to win you games. And we've all known this. He's an amazing game manager. And all he has to do is manage the game, hand the ball off, make a couple throws here and there. And he made those plays against Notre Dame in the first game of the season. And so I was satisfied with what I saw. I'm not saying championship ceiling like college football championship ceiling for Miami, but they definitely can make a noise and win any given Saturday.
I'm not mad at that. I was always, I think me and TJ have done a decent job. Oh, I shouldn't say decent job. Me and TJ have kind of been dragging along Vance's expectations. I feel like of Carson Beck. This is a guy that was going to be a first round draft pick before the back half of last year's SEC slate. So I think the ceiling there is a little higher than what you give him credit for, just because the leading receiver and like Notre Dame is supposed to have one of the best secondaries in the country, and the leading receiver was a true freshman, I think for Miami. So I think Carson Beck did a lot. I mean, the running game looked really good, and Ruben Bain dominated that Notre Dame offensive line. I think Carson Beck can do a little bit more heavy lifting than what you're willing to give him credit for, which I think only bodes well for you.
When you say heavy lifting, man, give me like a visual of what you're talking about.
He had an SEC passing title. He could throw for 4K if he want.
He's not gonna look as good as Mateer, but he could give you what Mateer does in terms of like y'all are gonna win because of the quarterback position. Like how many games are y'all gonna play in the ACC where Beck is not the best quarterback? Florida State.
Yeah, maybe Klubnik. We don't
maybe
play
Clemson. So that's one in the possible.
Klubnik got his chain snatched for now, as far as I'm concerned. He got that shit back.
That's what I'm saying. So you got the whole conference slate. You got one game where we know for sure Carson Beck is not the better quarterback in that matchup.
What game is that?
Florida State. And so it's like, Haynes King, maybe, but he just looks better necessarily. He makes it look better than Beck. But,
Kevin Jennings on a good day, possibly.
Again, possibly, but we know for sure, like TJ just said, we know for sure that this guy was one of the SEC passing title. We know for sure. Yeah, Brock Bowers and all them was there, but we know for sure he's completed almost 70% of his passes in the SEC.
And I'll say this too. We talk about a guy in Nussmeier who's got all this hype coming into this year. Last year, Nussmeier had 100 more passing attempts than Carson Beck, had almost the same amount of touchdowns and the same amount of picks. So if we're being honest, you look at Carson Beck, all the passes those receivers dropped last year, all the missed opportunities. Beck was on the same playing field as Nussmeier with less attempts.
I'm not gonna drink the Kool-Aid. As a Miami fan, I can't drink the Kool-Aid, man. I'm gonna play it safe. I'm gonna watch week by week and hope Miami wins. But in terms of trusting Carson Beck, I just cannot do it. In terms of in my opinion, he's a game manager, which is fine, perfectly fine. All he has to do is manage his game. But if it comes down to having to make these throws, make these plays, he can do it. But I'm not banking on it in terms of I think there are other quarterbacks that are better than him.
But so in the ACC, who is better than Carson Beck? Or do you like Klubnik and Clemson more than Miami, or is there another team in the ACC that you like more than Miami to get to the ACC title game?
Right now, there's a big three, maybe a big four. I mean, I like Haynes King in terms of just being quarterback play.
Yeah,
He's pretty good for Georgia Tech. But right now, obviously, the big three is Miami, Florida State, Clemson. Possibly Georgia Tech. They have a chance to make some noise. They knocked out Florida State last year when they didn't have a quarterback. Now it's on an even playing field. So honestly, it's flip a coin with those three teams, in my opinion, because they all have their own strengths, they all have their own weaknesses, and so I'm not saying Miami can't do it because of Carson Beck. They can do it. I'm just saying I just want to sit back and watch as a fan of the team, and I don't want to be too biased.
Darren Mitchell, anybody? Duke is really cold on NCAA. I don't know how to
hey,
feel in real life.
well, I'll say this, bruh. I watched painfully that Duke Illinois game Saturday, and it's a reason why Illinois is ranked 11th in the country, I believe.
I thought
Got
they
to a
were
certain
nine.
point, got to a certain point, bruh. Darian Mincer missed a couple throws, had a big pick, and once the tide swung, the tide was gone, bruh. So
Mhm.
right now, Duke, I think we still a step away. At least our head coach ain't got players running suicides after the game, bro.
Let me
First of
ask
all, they
y'all this: Who's the best team in the ACC?
I'm still
If
taking
you if
Clemson,
you
bro. I'm still taking
Florida
Clemson.
State.
I know the Troy game was weird and it was a delay, but they just haven't looked good in either of the games. I guess I got to give it to Miami.
Here's my thing. If we just had a dialogue about the quarterback play. If in the big three that Vance mentioned, if the best player is not Ruben Bain, it's Earl Little for sure. Like that dude it's hyperbolic. He looks like Derwin James. He looks like Derwin James back there. I'm making plays coming downhill, but I can also almost cover anybody in the country, from a slot to an X to a tight end,
Mhm.
anybody. So if you're gonna combine that secondary, that mentality, that talent up front, they got my boy Steph Thompson from Syracuse, who beat Caden Proctor like a drum on a pass rush. If you're gonna have that defense with Malzahn's scheme and a high ceiling quarterback like Castellanos, I think that's what I think would get the edge over Miami or Clemson.
So now we done talked SEC, we done talked ACC. Kind of hit on Big Ten, a little bit of Ohio State. How we feeling? Obviously, Jeremiah Smith, Caleb Downs, Ohio State national champion repeaters. How we feeling about them this year?
Not so fast, my friend. Word to Lee Corso, man.
RIP.
No, come on, bro.
Not yet, bro.
Damn, bro.
Just him on game day, guys. Just his game day. Yeah.
He's selling what? He in that phase right now, bro.
Boy,
Yeah.
quit.
But like we do our weekly Heisman rankings, man. And my rankings, you guys saw a list. I had on there Dante Moore, the quarterback for Oregon. And beating another P14 by 66 points, does that make sense to y'all? Like, I don't care how sorry that team is. You're a P14. Oklahoma State should have not have lost by 60. Like, imagine
Yeah,
the spread of that type of game. So Oregon, it means business, bro. And I wasn't sure how they was gonna do without Dylan Gabriel. You have to give the keys to another quarterback. But Oregon looks good. They got Moore, the Corian Moore from Duncanville. Listen, they try to put him on the same level as we've seen. I think he is better than a guy than Ryan Williams, honestly. And it's he's not better than Jeremiah Smith, but from what I've seen, man, he has the footwork, he has the skill sets. Oregon looks really good on both sides of the ball, and they finally have the trench play that they need to get it done. And so I think Oregon can beat Ohio State like they did in the regular season. That playoff game, Ohio State came ready to play. My
yeah.
bad. Jeremiah Smith came ready to play. And I think Oregon this year can get it done.
I will secondhand everything he said. Because my big thing for like Dante Moore, I put him more in the game manager kind of sect. I was like the Corian Moore and Evan Stewart. That's a duo. Evan Stewart, Memphian, goes down for the season. I was like, your receiver room goes from dynamic duo to kind of questionable, losing a guy that talent. And Decorian Moore is like, don't worry about it. So, like you said, Dan Lannon, you should offer me in Memphis, but I digress. I'm coming from the SEC. You know that he's gonna have the trench play there. So I think it's Mariah Watt. They got a D tackle that's like they got the trench play solidified on both sides. They got they got a Keon Sadiq. They got a guy that could be like a free athlete, a potential first rounder. So that's always good to have like a security blanket option for a guy in Dante Moore until I see it against high level competition. You're not necessarily trusting them to air out the ball 20, 30, 40 times a game. And then, that run game with Noah Whittington, Oregon might be the best team in the country. Like you said, with what they put on tape, the first they might be the best in the country. They might have the best tape. Obviously, we got to see again whether it gets in the conference play. But I think out of all the contenders, Ohio State has the best win for sure, obviously, against Texas. But I think that if we look at the 8 quarters of football, Oregon has played the best 8 quarters of football in the country.
I definitely think Oregon is the biggest challenger to Ohio State in the Big Ten. I will never be a Penn State believer. I'm sorry, Drew Adler and James Franklin. I just don't have faith, especially after what I saw last year. But talking about Oregon and Ohio State, I really like what I saw from Ohio State. Julian Sand has one job and one job only, and that's get the ball to Jeremiah Smith. And when you make the job that easy, I have faith that Ohio State will continue to be successful. Like we said earlier, this is an NFL defense. You got Caleb Downs on the back end. You continue to be able to generate pressure with your front four. I just really like Ohio State, and I'm not sure that they go back to national champion, but I'd still like them to win Big Ten straight up.
I don't think we can
You
bury
saw,
Michigan either. I'm gonna go ahead.
yeah, no, you saw the game with Illinois Duke. Who would you say is the third best team? Is it Penn State or I mean, like Josh just mentioned Michigan. It could be Illinois. Who is the third best team in the Big Ten? I think we all agree that 1 and 2 you can interchange it. But
Yeah,
Ohio State, Oregon, who's the third best team?
I ain't gonna lie, I'd have to say Michigan. Just because they went in and they were still able to compete with Oklahoma despite not having the best play from Bryce Underwood and that offense. I think with Michigan, that defense is legit. And when you're talking Big Ten football, that's where everything starts. You think those cold November games, that's where it starts on the defensive side of the ball. They can run the ball. They have an athletic quarterback that adds to the run game as well and can be dynamic as a passer. I think Michigan is still a scary team to look out for in the Big Ten.
Mm, yeah, I think that we got to see what this guy, the Cal transfer Mendoza, looks like to see if he can be like a ceiling raiser for Indiana. But I think in terms of talent wise, I think that Ohio State, Oregon, and Michigan, and maybe even be a gap between Penn State and that top 3 because we know what the running backs are going to do. We know again, they ran with the trenches will be solidified with Penn State, but the receivers looked really good in week 1, and then not so good in week 2 with Penn State. And that's going to kind of be the thing for them because I think y'all kind of said that Drew Allard, we're kind of a little lower on him, and if you're not going to get any help from your receiver room, it's going to kind of be the same recipe of last year. Now they won 2 playoff games last year, so I guess it's not that bad. But yeah, I would especially the schedule that Michigan has. They're gonna. I think Van said that they're gonna be at the minimum 9-1. They're gonna be 9-2, 10-1 going into the rival game with Ohio State. Given a young quarterback like Bryce Underwood with that level of talent, that kind of runway to kind of really find his offense, we could be looking at week 10, week 11, and depending on how the receiving core for Michigan develops and how like kind of the defense develops, because it's not the same defense that Harbaugh had. And we could be looking at them, I would say, in that same tier.
All right, so my final question for y'all, I want to hear TJ's answer first. Last season, 4 Big Ten teams made it to the CFP, and Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, and then Indiana snuck in that final spot. With that being said, over under 3.5 teams makes the CFP this year for Big Ten.
Under.
You said
Under.
3.5.
Mm-hmm.
Under.
4 made it last year.
So
Over.
it had to be either 3 or I said 3 or 4. I'm gonna go under. I think they're gonna start beating each other up. And Indiana, I don't want to say. You said Indiana made the playoff, right? They played Notre
Yeah.
Dame first round. That game was garbage. Like, I feel like they're gonna. I don't want to say start holding it against some of these teams, but like when it comes down to selection time again, and it's a team like Indiana, and we're like, that game was weird. It was on a Friday. It was cold. Some of the college kids had to go back to campus, or they either stayed. That was a weird game. It was cool to see the expanded playoff. I'm gonna say under, and I probably just stick to. I think it'll be probably 2 or 3. I don't want to say. I think 1 would be crazy. 4 is too many, and I think 2 is too few because there's not enough games between Penn State, Oregon, Ohio State. Like they only play each other once for them to like all have a bunch of losses. What'll happen is it'll be another conference that'll be fighting for 4 spots, like the SEC, and that way it'll be like okay. Oklahoma, LSU, South Carolina, and another school are like, okay, we'll probably get 4 SEC teams, because that's what they want to do last year. That's what we all know that's what the committee really wants to do. They want the SEC prop us up. It just means more type shit. But I think it'll come down to another conference that'll have around like 3 or 4. So I'm gonna go under. I'm gonna say 2 to 3, probably 3.
Last year, Indiana was that team that was the beneficiary of having a really easy schedule. Like they avoided all that gauntlet of other teams, and so they were able to go 11-1, and they didn't even have to play in the Big Ten title game. And Josh, you hit it on the head. We talked about it this weekend. Michigan gets to avoid all them other teams except Ohio State that we just named. They don't have to play Oregon. They don't. They don't have to play Penn State, so they get to avoid all them other teams. So let's just say Oregon, Ohio State are locks. We're gonna assume Penn State does what they're supposed to do. So that's 3 teams. Michigan, I think they can get in at 10-2. I may be wrong. You might have like a head-to-head where Oklahoma. You have to just say the head-to-head. Oklahoma gets the edge, but if there is a 4 team, it's going to be Michigan.
Yeah, and I think what really helps the case of maybe seeing 4 Big Ten teams get in is the fact that the Big 12 on the other end has not looked so good as a conference. Like we mentioned, the terrible loss Oklahoma State took at the hands of Oregon, Arizona State losing to Mississippi State this weekend, Colorado losing week 1. Just what the hell is going on in the Big 12, man?
They the 5th best conference in college football.
Shout out the American.
One of them only got 2 teams.
Nah, that's like I said, covering the Big 12. Like I think that people it's an off-used term. It's wide open. I think that's a nice way to say it. It's a lot of these niggas that are ass. I mean, that's just the way that people dress it up.
Don't whisper, see, say it louder.
Because like you said, Arizona State, and then we're all from the South, but it's like it's so hard to kind of hide that bias when you see a mid-tier like Blake Shapen left Baylor to go to Mississippi State. Mississippi State is still decidedly a mid-tier SEC team. They were up
If not
17
bottom.
I wouldn't say
nothing.
mid.
This is the first time we mentioned them, bro.
Oh.
They beat a
not
top
even
15
mid-tier.
team.
Exactly. And Arizona
They
State is
bottom
the
tier.
banner winner for the Big 12. And obviously, you lose Cam Scatterboo and all that. But you still have a first-round receiver and a guy that's a all-conference quarterback in Sam Levitt. So, yeah, like I said, just covering this conference, covering a team in this conference, I mean, I'm a journalist. I'm not a fanboy. There's other outlets that are out here that operate as like fanboy wings of the school. That's not what I'm doing. So I dump on Baylor in the Big 12 when I can. But the reason why I think that the Sawyer Robertson Heisman hype a little bit overhyped, but I think the reason why they have a chance to get to the Big 12 is because it's a lot of ass. There's a lot of ass shaking in that conference. And maybe Sawyer Robertson won't win the Heisman, but he's a top 2-3 quarterback in the conference. And like I just said, with like we just kind of did the rundown with the ACC and the SEC and the ACC. If you can go into 8 conference games and feel like you have the better quarterback in 7 of them, sounds like a good deal to me. So again, my Baylor to the Big 12, Baylor to the college football playoff thing is not necessarily an indictment of how good I think Baylor is. It's a lot of, like I said, it's how much ass is being shaken in the Big 12. So, because like we just said, does Baylor have the best win in the conference so far? Somebody just called them SMU a fake Power 4 school. I don't necessarily disagree, honestly, because Baylor gave up 300 rushing yards to Auburn, another decidedly mid-tier SEC team, and they got cut in
180 until Jackson Arnold. Jackson Arnold had the most of the yards too.
He definitely did. And they got cut in half against SMU. I ain't gonna lie, they couldn't cover Nick Hayes or me because dog, the first play of the game, Baylor SMU. The kid from Brinson, the kid from transfer Miami, he runs a go route. The kid from Baylor, shout out my boy LeVar, I interviewed him as well. He's 6'4", first of all. What's up with these tall ass corners? He actually makes a good play, undercuts the throw. He has the brick hands and it bounces off his hands, 75-yard touchdown. Like, dog, what is going on? And then the other kid, Tevin Williams, he's like 25, first of all. He out there getting PIs. And then overtime, Kevin Jennings might as well have blindfolded himself and threw it to Brinson again. The kid LeVar is like, no. So, yeah, for one, I think TJ said it before. Big 12 shootouts, there's no defense being played.
No, defense optional.
I think the reason why I say over on the Big 12, on the Big 10 for getting in is because, like you said, I think that you got a solidified 3 with Ohio State, Oregon, and Penn State. I think Michigan will get the Indiana bid, like Van said last year in terms of the week schedule. The SEC will be beating itself up, honestly. And that'll probably only lead to maybe 3 of those. But you got 4 from the Big 10. You got 3 from the SEC. You got your 1 G5.
That's 8.
The Big 12 is not getting more than 1 or 2. You're gonna get the conference champ, and you're gonna get maybe another quality ranked team that sneaks in there.
Yeah, I think definitely Iowa State, Utah, maybe looking like the best 2 to secure those slots right now.
Yeah, and I'll show love to Texas Tech as well, just because they have a very solid team. They're solid on both sides of the field. So I would say those 3 have the best chance. And if you want to include Baylor, because I will show love to your team. So that's 4 teams competing for probably 2 spots ish, maybe.
Yeah. Because I definitely think more than one group of 5 team gets a spot, bro.
I mean, because that means they would have to be ranked higher than the 4th, the 2nd or 3rd team from that Big 12, huh?
Yeah.
Yep. So if you think you get 2 ranked G5 teams, that's what it had to be.
Yeah, I think AAC winner gets in, and also I don't think I see UNLV losing another game.
They looked horrible against Idaho State, but I played with them in Dynasty too. They have they got a bunch of talent.
That's what I was going to say. They have insane talent on their roster, but even though Orgy's out, the guy who played against UCLA did not look bad, bro.
Calandria.
He's better than Orgy.
Yeah,
Calandria. He offered the.
He was slinging it, bro.
He was slinging at Virginia.
He had the same mobility, and he can actually throw the ball.
I mean, they have comp games, but
they had to go to Boise State. I know that because I played them in Dynasty.
But we saw what USF did to Boise State.
Byron Brown's gonna get somebody fired one day, but it's gonna be worth it.
So I mean, yeah, if you take USF and then either UNLV or maybe Memphis, I could definitely see that getting in over pick your 2nd or 3rd Big 12 team. Maybe it's Baylor, maybe it's Texas Tech, maybe it's Utah. I think Utah's probably the best team in the conference right now. The kid Dampier looked a lot better throwing the ball than what I remember at New Mexico. But we talk about Mateer in Oklahoma. You got your synergy with your quarterback and your OC. It does damage because Kyle Whittingham is he's got 20 years in Utah. That's one of those rare West Coast teams that thrives on physicality. So they're kind of built to withstand a conference schedule. So I think that they'll. Ooh, I don't know. I think they'll be one of the two top teams in the Big. I think they'll be one of the two best teams in the Big 12. I think they'll make the conference championship game. I think they'll lock up a spot. And then you got Baylor, Arizona State, and then Texas Tech fighting for one. I think Texas Tech is a little too far away. I think it takes a little bit. I think it takes a year for that money to kind of flow in, and their star running back got hurt. So between Baylor and Arizona State, they play in 2 weeks. So I guess we'll see who's better then.
I forgot all about Arizona State. I mean, they lost to Mississippi State, but just showing that heart, Mississippi's playing at Mississippi State is no joke. Even no matter what. So like they did show heart. They came back, should have won the game, honestly, or at least sent it to overtime. So I won't count them out. So I agree with Arizona State. They took their loss early last season as well. So you never know with them.
That's another episode of No Cap Sports, man. As you can tell, we back full in action. Make sure y'all stay locked in with us. And like that, man, we out of here.
Super.